What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, and after what feels like weeks and weeks of teasing it and talking about it, Superman is finally in theaters. The first movie in the brand new DCU is here, and we are getting to talk about it with some wonderful friends, some wonderful guests. We're going to have a great time. Joining me, as always, we got my friend, co-host of the Comic Corner, Damon Gray. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing super. I'm doing terrific. I'm almost doing fantastic.
Not quite, but hopefully in a couple weeks you'll be doing fantastic.
I will be.
Breaking it down with us as well, we had to get our number one DC guy here with us, fresh off his second viewing minutes ago through the door. We got AF Parker. How you doing, AF?
I'm doing great, man. I'm giddy. I cannot wait to talk about this movie.
Can't wait to talk about it with you as well. And we have joining us today one of the co-hosts of the Phase Hero podcast, returning after a while. We haven't had her on the podcast for a while, and I'm so thankful she is back on. We have Jenna Anderson. How are you doing, Jenna?
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here, especially to talk about this. Like, this is my entire life right now is just talking about this movie, and I could not be happier about it.
Not only did I know just based on like social media and listening to Phase Hero that you were so pumped for this movie, so I knew I had to try and get you on to talk about it. But I figured since there's just so much good Superman energy coming from this household, why contain it to just Jenna? And so for the first time on the podcast, we are bringing Chris in as well. Chris, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling like a kid in a candy store, and guy turned his back and said, "Grab whatever you want."
We should probably add for context that we are husband and wife for people who are listening who don't know that and are wondering what household this is. Yeah.
I'm not just a strange guy in our house.
Yeah. He shows up on time to time to talk about Superman.
That was kind of what our courtship was like.
Which honestly. I want to do.
Yeah.
I can relate. I met my wife on Tinder, but the photo that really sold it for me and knew like, hey, I gotta real my best behavior, make sure I make this happen, was her in a Captain Marvel cosplay. And I went, okay, I think this is the one. I'm scrolling and I'm like, okay, I think I actually just found the one. And lo and behold, we nailed it. But yeah, I kind of just assumed that at least, 90% of our listeners also listen to Phase Hero. And so they already know who Jenna and Chris are. But great disclaimer, just in case, before we dive into Superman. It's always fun when we have a big group on the podcast to do this. I want to have a little edition of what you're watching. Usually in Damon's case, what you're reading. And Jenna, I'll throw it to you first because what you're watching, I feel like for you I'm sure you're watching lots of stuff, but I want to hear what comics you're reading too. So a mix of what you're watching, what you're reading.
Let's see. Absolute Martian Manhunter. I have to shout that out. That is one of Damon's reaction just solidified it for me as well. It is one of the most incredible comics I've ever read. Like it is unbelievable and only gets more so with issue to issue. And there are just so many good books, especially from DC right now. There's Birds of Prey, there's Green Arrow, there's it is a kid in a candy store sort of sentiment of like, I could be buying every single book that comes out every week. I would bankrupt myself in the process, but it there's so much to choose from. And then watching, we've been rewatching a lot of the Superman related stuff kind of in the lead up to this, including some Smallville. So that was really nice. And yeah, just rewatching this movie as many times as humanly possible.
I am very excited. They haven't announced a ton of guests yet, but the next expo that I'm going to be doing press for is in Edmonton in September, and I'm going to Edmonton Expo, and they just announced the Superman, the animated series Superman, Justice League Unlimited Superman, Smallville cast, nice. Brandon Ruth, whole Superman crew. Haven't announced any Corenswet or Cavill as of yet, but I did actually just get a chance to meet Nicholas Hoult at the last when I was in Calgary as well, and so getting to see 4 different Supermans when I go and do some press there in Edmonton in September. Very excited for that. Chris, how about you? Any differences in what you've been reading or watching?
So I have sprung and I've bought so many of the DC Finest's, their new collected edition line, and I'm just loving it. So I've been tearing through a whole bunch of Superman. I got like the Superman family. I just finished the Kryptonite Nevermore one. I'm reading through the Team Ups one now, which collects the Brave and the Bold and DC Presents. So I'm just tearing through those. Outside of that, reading Green Arrow, regretfully reading Batman, Hush 2, cannot end.
Oh no.
We are very excited for Fractions era.
But Fractions run, highly anticipating. I'm not a completionist with a lot of comics, but with Batman and Green Arrow, I'll just have to keep buying them. And right now, regretfully, it's Hush 2.
Hush 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Halfway there.
Damon, let's lead that right into what you've been reading, because I know these days you never really are watching anything outside of you watched Ironheart, now you're watching Superman, but outside of that, not a whole lot of new watching content for you, but you're always reading something good.
Yeah, not to repeat a lot of what these two just said, but I've been digging a lot of the Absolute titles. Absolute Wonder Woman, I think, is my favorite so far, outside of Absolute Martian Manhunter, because that book is just like in a whole nother world, quite literally and figuratively. The Ultimate books from Marvel like are flipping fantastic. Ultimate Spider-Man, wonderful. Ultimate Wolverine, very cool. For the first 6 issues, you essentially just get to see what if Logan was the Winter Soldier, held by a very evil Colossus and a very evil Magic, and it's like, yeah, that rips, and it does. And the Ultimates as well. A lot of that, man, a lot of that. And just to get excited about the Fantastic Four movie coming out, which I know we will be talking about. Hey, they released like a little promo book this week, the same week as like Fantastic Four #1, because they like restarted that. Not confusing at all to have 2 #1 Fantastic Four books on the shelf at the same time, but one of them is a promo book, and it did reveal like a couple neat little things for the movie to get you excited. And we talked about that on the latest episode, whatever you call these things, yesterday on the podcast.
Check out the Comic Corner live every Thursday here on the Agents Fandom YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. Want to quickly shout out Brandon Moore in chat for the super chat. We appreciate you. We love you. Popping in to say hello, even though he hasn't got a chance to say Superman yet. Shout out to Brandon. Hashtag be more like Brandon. AF, how about you, my friend? Outside of Superman, what you been watching? What you been reading?
So watching, I just finished up The Bear this week. So that was the roller coaster. And yeah, in terms of books I've read, just like everybody else has been saying, the Absolute books are just killing it. And then on the All Inside, the main line, I've been catching up with things like Secret Six, just trying to fill in all of these plot holes that they've been leaving open. And yeah, the We Are Yesterday crossover between World's Finest and Justice League Unlimited, that was great as well. And then over on the Marvel side, Spider-Gwen, The Ghost Spider by Stephanie Phillips, that just concluded last week. So yeah, we spoke at length about that, so you can catch that on the latest episode of the
Controversy.
Once again, check out the Comic Corner, and you can also find our 2 breakdowns of The Bear up on the Agents Fandom YouTube page, wherever you get your pods. Follow us on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Since we're talking so many comics, before we get into the Superman side of things, I usually save it for the end. What we can do it at the end again, but it just feels wrong not to talk about it now because we're talking about comics. And Jenna, you talk about comics all the time on your YouTube channel, which has been growing so quickly. So wonderful to see. You've been doing an awesome job. Talk about what you've been talking about over there before we dive in.
Yeah, so my YouTube channel, if you don't already know, is called Go Read Some Comics, which has kind of become my slogan over the years. And I just kind of talk about the comics themselves and their relationship with the adaptations that we're getting and just whatever other topics tickle my fancy. And so Superman has basically become my Super Bowl. Like, I'm in the middle of editing together my spoiler-filled breakdown of all of the Easter eggs and just my thoughts on various plot lines and stuff. And it is so fun after just breaking down all the trailers, breaking down all of the new footage to like finally sit here and talk about the movie. It's a Herculean effort, but it's very fun.
Heck yeah, love to see it. Go read some comics. Check out Jenna's new YouTube channel. Not new anymore, but relative to, I mean,
Newish.
we're all getting old, so it's newish, you know. It's I don't know where I'm going with that, but Mark in chat says he's in the middle of a Sopranos rewatch. I'm always kind of in the middle of my Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra rewatches.
You've watched that show more than I have at this point.
I know,
it's actually quite impressive.
It's just kind of ongoing at all times in the background in my life, and I usually don't bring it up, but because I'm just right now on season 3 of Legend of Korra, which, as great as Avatar: The Last Airbender is, season 3 of Legend of Korra might be the best season of anything in that universe. It's just so incredible. So I'm really enjoying rewatching that right now. But the people are here to listen to us talk about Superman, so I want to dive into it. AF, I'll throw it to you first, my friend. Spoiler-free reaction, general thoughts. Like, you're a big DC fan, big Superman fan. Did this meet your expectations? What'd you think?
That it certainly did. I enjoyed every bit of this movie, and then watching it for the second time now, literally just fresh off of it, it got even better for me. And I mean, I'm contemplating watching it again over the weekend. So yeah, like I'm probably going to keep on rambling about how great this movie is for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Chris, how about you?
I've been a DC fan for most of my life, and I've been through so many different trenches from, the bad embargo, the ups and downs of the Arrowverse, DCEU, and I've just wanted a universe that is fully realized with like reverence and love and care, and I'm finally there. So I am just over the moon. I adore and love this movie. I knew James would crush it. To me, he is the best modern day superhero director writer. His track record proves that. So I had complete faith that he would crush it, and he did. And this is only the start of the universe, so that makes me even more excited for what's to come in the next decade plus.
I've typically favored Marvel more than DC throughout my life, but I kind of have always realized as I dug more into DC that while I think, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, they're pretty cool, it's when we get into the wider range of the DC characters that I really, really start loving this universe. And so that's what I love that you mentioned a fully realized universe where even though it's one movie in, it already feels lived in. It already feels like these other characters can exist there. And I can't wait until they start diving in. Damon, what did you think about Superman?
This was a movie I really, 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 really wanted to love. And I came out really enjoying it. Not as much as like I wanted to, because I do have some qualms with it, but the good so much outweighs the bad, like in typical Superman fashion, that I just came out with a smile. And we'll talk about some of the qualms that I have with it, and maybe there's some things that I'll come away and be like, maybe that wasn't so bad on a second watch, because I've only watched it once so far. I do have my ticket for a second time already, and I'm very much excited to see it again. But I came out being like, that was good. I wanted it to be amazing, but good is still pretty good. And good is better than what it had been. So we're already in an improvement.
My partner Ava and my baby Natasha are just left 30 minutes ago off to the lake for the weekend. And so I don't have my tickets for round 2 yet. And I haven't decided if I want to ask a friend or just go by myself. But round 2 is definitely coming this weekend for me as well. Jenna, how about you? What do you think about the first DCU movie, Superman?
I will say that this movie does get even better upon rewatch. And it is an overwhelming movie upon first watch. Like when we watched it at the premiere on Monday, it was also jet lag and the high of being at the premiere. I was just like, genuinely felt like my third eye had opened. But every subsequent time that I've watched it, I have only loved it even more than I ever thought was possible. And the fact that you hear everyone talking about wanting to go see it multiple times, and just, we went again last night and we were kind of hanging around the theater before our showing started, and just seeing everyone leave with the biggest smiles on their faces and just excitedly talking to each other. I did not know that this was still possible for the DCU. I thought that we were kind of just like going to be stuck in, as Chris mentioned, all of the eras that we were in previously. And so to be at this point that not only like a DC movie, but just a superhero movie in general can like elicit this kind of response for people genuinely takes my breath away. It makes me so happy.
It's going to be fun as well when, you know, there's a lot of movies to see in the theaters right now, whether it's Jurassic World Rebirth, whether it's Fantastic Four coming in a couple weeks. And that's just like the big summer blockbusters. There's a lot of other really great movies in theaters right now, too. So it will be interesting to see if there are, you know, a group of people, they're not very online. They haven't seen a ton of trailers and didn't prioritize Superman. And then once when it's eventually on streaming, to see how popular this new iteration of the character becomes as well. And I'm kind of just so excited to think about, not something I really thought about before, but now that I have a child, just thinking about like, oh, this is going to be a new group of kids Superman. This is going to be the guy and the movie that a new group of kids grow up watching and become a fan on. And that to me is just so exciting. I couldn't agree more. This movie didn't quite hit like the top tier of superhero movies for me, but it's one notch below it. And to me, that's still like really good movie. It kind of felt comparable to, in the way the Batman is not a perfect movie, but it's a pretty perfect Batman movie. That's kind of how I feel about Superman. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a pretty perfect Superman movie. And so I think James Gunn and crew did a really great job. Mark in chat says Krypto, the Superdog forever. Kind of surprised we've gone all the way through without mentioning Krypto yet, but he was an absolute rascal and he reminded me so much of my dog Sonic, like in look and in personality. And like Sonic is like a very well-behaved dog, except for the first 5 to 10 minutes of when someone comes to the door. And then it's just like ADHD brain kicks in. He is so excited. He doesn't hear any commands. And that's kind of like what Superman or what Krypto was like anytime he saw Clark. And so he looks like my dog. He acted like my dog. And it was on the day after that Sonic got surgery to remove some lumps that we're still waiting to hear back if they're cancerous or not. So I got extra emotional during the Krypto moments. Well, let's start diving into the spoilers. Spoiler warning, if you have not seen Superman, get out of here. Join us after the fact. Hit the like button before you go, but then get out of here and come back and hang out afterwards. Let's talk about the guy, David Corenswet, who, Jenna, I think I just like, to me, I love him as Superman. I think he's great. But him as Clark Kent, specifically in those moments, that's what really sold it for me.
He is generational casting. Like you said, this is an entire like new crop of kids who didn't even really get to grow up with the MCU. It had already been established as a thing before their time. Like they get to not only have superheroes that can feel like theirs, but they get to have Superman feel like theirs and have him be silly and have all these crazy things happen around him, but he still feels like Superman. And I think like I've heard complaints that there should have been even more scenes of him as nerdy Clark, like at the Daily Planet. But I think we see so much of just who the real Clark is and just the earnestness in that, even when he's suited up as Superman. Like the mask almost comes off and it is just such a nuanced and beautiful performance. Like I continue to find new things to love about it.
I'm so happy that they weren't fearful of leading into how corny Superman can be with the golly and gosh darn it. It works when it's Superman, and I'm so happy they leaned into it. Damon, what did you think about David's performance?
Incredible casting, like perfect casting. I was gonna bounce off something you said earlier, and I'll say it now. And it comes down to like this is a new generation Superman. I've seen some people, older people than even you or myself, like maybe my dad's age, be like, "Oh, they're making another Superman movie. Why do we need another one? Like we don't need to see that again." I'm like, "Well, maybe you don't, but there's like an 8, 10, 12-year-old, whatever, who never really had a Superman movie. And maybe the last one was Man of Steel, and that's a bit darker. It's not like, in my opinion, it's not really a Superman movie, but like that's a whole nother conversation. So this is their Superman movie, and he is Superman. Like, coming down to like protecting the citizens of Metropolis when a big monster is running through, and even down to like the squirrels he protects and makes sure that like the buildings are, he does his best to like make sure buildings don't get completely demolished, and even so much down to being like, hey, I don't want this thing dead, I just want it removed and away from all the harm. That's Superman, and he is that. I agree with Jenna too, like in terms of seeing like maybe a little bit of like the nerdier Clark. Like, we will really only get that one moment at the very beginning where we see him at the planet, but there's really three different like faces of Superman. You have Superman, you have nerdy Clark, and then you have real Clark. Because like the planet Clark is a front of its own, and then the real Clark when he's at home with Lois, and eventually when he has John too, like that's real Clark. So we see more of real Clark, and I really appreciated that. And I thought he was fantastic with it. I cannot wait. I'm like thinking so far down the line. This man's gonna make such a great dad.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna make such a great dad. Like, I need John now already. And I'm like, I'm so far ahead. I'm like, but I just need to see it.
David, I'm so with you because I want John. I want to see a new Batman movie, but if in my truest heart of hearts, if I'm being honest to myself and everyone, I don't give a damn about Batman. I want to see Nightwing. I want to see Oracle. I love the Bat family. I don't care all that much about Batman, so I'm with you on the give me the younger generation of DC heroes already. Give us the Teen Titans. Give us any semblance of anything I saw in Young Justice in live action, and I will be such a happy man. Chris, what did you think about David Corenswet's performance? What stood out to you the most?
We can't. We lucked out here. You know, he's in it for the long haul. He's enthusiastic. He tapped into something I didn't know could be tapped into. He just gets the character through and through. And I'm excited to see where he grows. Like you Damon, jumping to, it's like, I want to see John. I've been looking forward to whatever like Superman 3 is, with the wedding, with him and Lois, with the League there. And I'm already like there. I'm excited to see the growth of his character even more, because it's so dense already and it's so layered. It's perfect. Couldn't do any better.
AF, tell me your thoughts on David Corenswet's performance, and then lead us into someone who is, to me, equally great of a casting choice, and that's Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. It's hard to talk about one of them without the other because they're both so great on their own in this movie, but when they're on screen together, when they're interacting together, it's, to me, that's the highlight.
Yeah, for sure. Just starting on David Corenswet, the guy he's the personification of Clark Kent, of Superman. That casting was amazing, and just to go back to everything that you were saying, like when he gets into the fortress saying "what the hey" instead of "what the hell." I mean, he's such a Boy Scout. I mean, that was amazing. But yeah, like I enjoyed all of his scenes. He is going to be the face of this new regime over at the DCU. He's going to be bossing it for years to come, and I'm so excited for it. Um, Rachel Brosnahan, she matches his energy in every single scene. She is so good as Lois Lane. Like, she has an answer for everything. She was never short of anything, and she's such a powerful character, and she's such a powerful person. I'm gonna go quickly to Superman and Lois, which is one of my favorite Superman live action adaptations of the last, I don't know, 10 to 15 years. And Betsy Tola, she just like raised the bar for Lois Lane so high. But I think Rachel Brosnahan came in and she just knocked it out of the park, man. I cannot wait to see where Lois goes from here and how her character builds on every single movie and every single project.
my review for Superman is up on agentsofandom.com, and this was one of the parts that I was admittedly proud of when I was writing the caption for this. I would develop superpowers too if Rachel Brosnahan looked at me this way. I just realized it's way too small on the screen now to actually read, so I better say it out loud. I am not a person that is typically like, when people are watching TV shows or movies and they're like, oh, this person step on my neck, and just like they say stuff like that, like, that's typically not me. I'm a sensitive guy. Like, be nice to me. I don't want you to be mean to me. I want you to be nice to me. Lois Lane could boss me around and I would have absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. Jenna, what do you think of this performance? What do you think of the two of them together?
I think the two of them together are unbelievable. The interview scene in her apartment is one of my favorite scenes that we've ever had in any live action superhero thing. I think it is so just iconic and classic and just such a great showcase of who both of them are. And then you get later into the movie and the scene where they're at his apartment and they're talking about just like the punk rock sentiment of all of it. I can't think about that scene without like getting goosebumps. I think it is the thesis statement of the whole movie, and I think it is so brilliantly acted. And I was not prepared for this to basically be a Lois Lane movie. Like, she gets to really co-lead and gets to drive a lot of the action in ways that she might not have 10, 15, 20 years ago. And it is just stunning that she's at that point. And Rachel just kills it.
The two of their, I mean, I do understand that it is just, classic Lois and Clark stuff, but the two of their interactions reminded me so much of my favorite adaptation of Superman in the last, honestly, maybe my life going into this, and that's My Adventures with Superman. I just love that show so much, and I love Lois Lane in that show so much, and their relationship reminded me a lot of that show in this movie. Chris, what did you think of Rachel Brosnahan's performance and the chemistry with Clark?
She's great. She brings the energy to it that we haven't seen in a while. For me, not since Erica Durance on Smallville. The very kind of punk rock, keeps going, always asking questions, which she should be, and just her chemistry with David is off the charts. I'm so excited to see where it goes and to see how she develops as, I don't want to say supporting character, but just co-lead, because it's so rare we get to see non-superhero characters in these universes thrive and kind of headline these things. So I'm excited for where Rachel takes it, where Gunn takes it. So I'm all in. Rachel's great.
The other, and then I'm thinking about it right now, the other part of Lois Lane specifically that reminded me so much of My Adventures with Superman was when she's flying the spaceship. And it just reminded me so much of like the Council of Lois, or it was a Council of Lois, League of Lois, whatever the group of Loises was called. And they had all of these spaceships, and Lois has to fly around through these different universes. And that's what reminded me of that so much. Damon, what were your thoughts on Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane? I know that you at least have positive thoughts based on how much you send photos of Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane to the group chat.
I mean, look at her. It's not fair. She is Lois Lane. Honest to God, the only thing I would be like, throw some purple contacts on it, and it's just like, bang, right there. But didn't need them. You don't need purple eye contacts. Let's save that for the animated stuff. That's absolutely fine. Perfect casting. A word that gets thrown around with Lois a lot is spunk, and she brings it. Going all the way down to just that one scene where she's with Jimmy and she just like is nonstop pouring sugar into the coffee, and to a point where I'm like, are you okay? But that's Lois, and that's what we love about Lois. Rachel nailed it, perfectly nailed it. When Clark was being his goofy fronted glasses self and she was starting to look at him in a certain way, for him being like, well, no, I'm interviewing myself. And I'm like, is she like figuring out who she is? Like, she's giving that look of like figuring out who he is. But obviously at that point, she already knew. But I just loved it. Her and David easily, and well, another character we'll talk about later, easily like 2 to 3 standouts for me in terms of characters in this film.
Agreed completely. And I was about to go into something Lex Luthor related, but I did want to save that for later on, so I'm going to hold off on it and just go in the proper order and that I wrote down already. Don't let my brain is going to try and make me disorganized, but I've pre-organized. We're not going to let it happen. I want to talk about Krypto. I've already given my piece. I don't need to say anymore. I loved this dog. I think that was such a easy, smart decision to put Krypto in the movie. People adore dogs. Let's throw an adorable dog in the movie. Of course, people are going to love it. Jenna, are you a Krypto the Superdog fan in general? And then what did you think of him in this movie?
The Krypto animated series was my gateway into DC. Like, I was a small child in the 2000s watching that on the Kids WB, and that was really like my entry point into this whole universe. So I love Krypto. I was just stunned at how adorable he is in the movie and how they found ways to utilize him without it kind of getting like overdone. Like, they're just the perfect amount of screen time, because people in the lead up to this movie were like, there's so much of the dog, there's going to be too much of the dog. I think it balanced really well, and I think when we did get Krypto, it was so much fun. And skipping ahead even further, it's so worth it to get to the end of the movie, and then you've already gotten used to Krypto being this menace for 2 hours, and then it's like, oh, Kara is the reason why Krypto is that way. Kara has not given him any training whatsoever. That is the perfect way to set up Kara in the process. Like, I think that was just beautiful.
I couldn't agree more. It didn't even register in my head when he was like, it's more of a foster dog situation, that it was because he was babysitting for Kara. It did not even register when I was watching it. Chris, any standout Krypto moments for you?
The moment where Krypto is laying on Clark's chest, every time the audience has this audible "aw" moment, and it's just a sweet, tender moment. And I think anyone who's had a pet, a dog, can just see themselves in that moment. And I don't know, it's just humanizing for Clark to have a dog. Krypto's a great character, has been in canon for 50 years, so it's well overdue to have Krypto make his live action cinematic debut. I say cinematic because we're going to forget about that one other animated movie from the other regime. But it's just time, and it's whimsy, and the DC universe is full of whimsy, and we just need more of that.
AF, how about you? What'd you think about the Krypto elements of the movie?
What a menace, man! I mean, and the fact that he had so many like interactions with different characters. I think my best one was between him and Mr. Terrific. Their scenes together, so funny, so good. Give me more Krypto. I love this. I just want him to build on it.
Why'd you gotta bring the dog, man?
I love Superman going full John Wick when Krypto gets kidnapped. Absolutely awesome. Damon, give me your, like, I need some kind of like visual scale. Tell me where you would rank your love for Krypto in this movie and how it will compare to the live action eventual debut of Jeff the Land Shark.
Oh, I am so sorry. I am so sorry, Krypto.
Why would you do that?
Why would you even?
I thought you were going to say Lucky the Pizza Dog, and I thought that would even be a hard enough debate.
That would have been
better.
That would have been You're right. You're absolutely right. That would have been a way better comparison. Add Lucky to the rankings.
Jeff is like my baby.
Give me the podium.
Jeff is my baby. Why would you even do that one? Like, ding dang. Been a Jeff fan for years at this point. I can't compare the two, but what I'll say about this is my favorite Superman stories, weirdly enough, are the ones where it's actually really grounded, which I know Superman is a very fantastical character, and I do enjoy some of the sci-fi stuff with him, where he goes off in space and like the War World saga and stuff, like crazy sci-fi amazing stories. But I do love it when he is very grounded, and so much so like more recently with like the Blue Earth saga, which is very ground level Metropolis. And Krypto, weirdly enough, brings that groundness to Superman because it brings a relatability that we all have. We all have a pet, maybe not a dog, but we all have a pet that we become attached to. Maybe that pet is a bit of a menace, but we still love that thing in the end. So, like, you know, Chris said, the scene where Krypto's on the chest, and everyone just goes, oh. Or the very last, like the first mid-credit scene where they're on the moon, they're hugging. I'm just like, yeah, that's Superman. That's Krypto. That's why you bring this into the movie.
Very well said. And Damon, I want you to lead us into, which we probably won't spend too much time on it because this is one of my qualms of the movie, is that we didn't get to spend that much time with them, and that's the Daily Planet staff. I thought we got about enough Jimmy screen time. He was really great. Lois, obviously, absolutely incredible. I wanted more with Perry, with Kat, with the whole crew, just spent in general there for me. That was just like a nitpick, not really a qualm as much as a nitpick. I would have liked to seen a little bit more, not just Clark in the newsroom, like Jenna was mentioning that some people had been saying, but just the whole team in the newsroom, because I loved all the banter between all of them. And I thought it was so random but hilarious having Jimmy just being the ultimate ladies man throughout this whole movie. Damon, who are the standouts for you among the Daily Planet staff?
I mean, yeah, Jimmy Olsen, obviously. Steve Trevor, too. Very, like, had, like, one of the best little one-liners, like, where's my seat? Like, great one-line bit. But Jimmy Olsen, very important to the story, very important to Superman. And one of the weirdly zany characters, and what I'll say about Jimmy is this, in this world that James Gunn has built specifically with Superman, is that Jimmy, so many insane things happen to Jimmy Olsen. Jenna knows I brought it up in the Phase Hero chat earlier. Like, this man turns into a turtle. But I can believe... Yeah, but I could believe that can happen in this universe. Like, that's what they set up here. Like, we can tell crazy Jimmy Olsen stories in this universe. So much so that, like, the Daily Planet staff, they're fun, they're fine. There's one Superman character, like, side character in particular, I need to see in this second movie, and that's Bibbo Babowski. I need to see Bibbo in this universe, because that man, like, loves Superman, and I just, like, he will bring that level of energy to this. But the reason I bring it up is because the world Metropolis Gunn has built allows that. It allows these characters. It allows more of the planet to be kind of themselves. You get like the little one-dimensional snippets with the planet, but we can get more, and I'm excited about that.
Jenna, how about you? Who were your standouts among the Daily Planet? Do you think they were well balanced among, like, for screen time, or would you have liked to see a little more as well?
I mean, there's so much of this movie that I would like to see more of, but I think the way that this movie works, what is beautiful about it is that I know that I could. And even if they're not on screen, I feel like each character is still living a full life and being this like very active protagonist in it. And even Kat and Steve and Perry all still feel like real people. And I know if and when we see them pop up elsewhere, it's going to just be delightful. But yeah, Jimmy is in a whole other category. Like the arc of making him the biggest ladies man in this universe, people are having to suspend their disbelief with that more so than the kaiju and all of the other crazy stuff in this movie, which is just very funny to me. But I think it is so quintessentially Jimmy Olsen. It nails the Silver Age energy. It nails the modern day energy of him. It is just delightful. And I think that that's a really nice moment of levity in a movie where a lot of other stuff, sometimes dark stuff, is happening.
Very well said, Chris. How about you? Are we going 4 for 4 with Jimmy as the standout?
Oh, easily. Number one with the bullet. Jimmy, he's a character that needed this, I think, because, you know, he was done dirty in the last universe, and needed this. People
that wasn't Jimmy Olsen.
No, they said it was Jimmy Olsen.
Okay.
So that was Jimmy Olsen, just like Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Dick Grayson.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that speaks more to it. Like, we need Jimmy. We need Superman's best friend here in the universe, just his friend to, you know, go through all of these zany, crazy moments of turning into a turtle or gaslighting his girlfriends, whatever it is. It's just, he's that guy that you can rely on, will come through clutch at the end of the day. And the whole Daily Planet crew is great. Of course, I wish I had more, but I'm confident that I know we will. If this was the last universe or two, I'd be a bit more worried. But where we are now, when there's already scuttlebutt about a Jimmy Olsen TV show, I'm so confident that we'll... Yeah, I know, right, Damon? I'm there. You could easily just adapt the Fraction Lieber stuff. You have 160 issues of Jimmy Olsen to pull from. There's more than enough material here.
I was about to say 2 potential rumored spin-offs that have come from, not spin-offs, but television series that have been talking about since this movie came out, Mr. Terrific and Jimmy Olsen. AF, what did you think about Jimmy and the Planet in this movie, and would you like to see a Jimmy Olsen TV show?
Dude, like it was one of the highlights for me because even when Clark hits his front page and then that interaction between himself and Jimmy, just like you can see that the best of buds, and it's amazing. I want to see that spin-off. I think it would be great. I think it could be sort of a Daily Planet sitcom in the office type vibe. That would be phenomenal. That's something that I know everybody would want to watch. But yeah, Jimmy Olsen front and center. He's currently dating Silver Banshee in the comics right now. So I mean, anything's possible. Like, give it to me. Like, give it all. I don't mind.
There's a fun question, not a question in chat, but a comment in chat that made me think of this question. Who do we think in the DCU? You know, James Gunn just had his comments that eventually the goal is to bring all of these characters together after they're more established. Who do we think will be not the Thanos, but the Loki, the very first like villain that we see a DC character team up movie fighting against? Chris, I'll throw that to you first. Who do you think is our first team up villain?
Since the inception of this universe, when it was like in its nascent stage, I have been all in on the new frontier of it, where it is just the center. I adore and love the new frontier by Darwin Cook. It is such an encapsulation of what this universe is, and it's the formation of the League. And I think we're going to get that in some form here, because the center is just this primordial cosmic being. And I think that allows for more time of developing the League as a team and not taking screen time away from, oh, we got this villain, that villain. It's just a being. Let's focus on the heroes, develop them, and then we can, throw in the Legion of Doom or whomever else. I don't know. There's so many that we can use, just not Darkseid.
Yeah.
I think my best guess is that it's ultimately going to be Lex Luthor gathering a team of some kind. I think that's what it's going to be. Jenna, how about you? Who do you think is going to be the first big bad?
I agree. I think it's unfair to use like the MCU as a direct comparison for where the roadmap seems to be, because even this movie feels so just forward momentum in terms of what a superhero movie can be. But I do think Lex can have a Loki-esque role of just like making all of these deals and meeting up with other villains and just doing whatever, like what they tried to do in the previous universe, but actually like a little bit more earned. I could definitely see that. And yeah, I've been on the center train and the New Frontier train for a really long time too. I feel like James does such a brilliant job at finding conflicts and antagonists that are not just very stereotypical. Having Starro be the big bad of a Suicide Squad movie is still bonkers to me. I cannot believe that that's the world that we're in. So I think when we get to a big event and we get to this big crossover, the villain's not going to be what we're expecting.
AF, how about you? Who would be your first choice for the first big bad?
Yeah, I think both Jenna and Chris are spot on about the New Frontier stuff, because if I'm not mistaken, in Jor-El's message in the movie, I think I heard the New Frontier in that message. So
Yep.
I think that could be a thing. But yeah, I think this universe, or this live action DCU starts off with Lex Luthor being the big bad in this movie, and then just sort of gathering everybody, and that culminates the first chapter of this Gods and Monsters arc that James Gunn is trying to tell.
Damon, finish us off with who do you think will be the first big bad?
I think we already seen him. I think it's Maxwell Lord.
Oh.
Ooh, good show.
Have to have him in for a reason. Small enough to not be the large, not the dark side of all. Either that or an Amanda Waller, who we know is around and has a project lingering about. So I don't think we're going to go big crazy early on. But those are two good, smaller, solid picks, I'd say.
I want to transition into the Justice Gang, and this makes me also think, while we're in the questions of like when this ensemble gets together, who will be part of the Justice League? Obviously we're going to get the big three. Obviously we're going to have Jon Stewart in there. So Jenna, I'll throw it to you first. As who was your highlight in the Justice Gang? And you don't have to pick one. You can talk about the group as a whole, anything you want, really. But I also want to know who would be like a, not off the wall if you want, but maybe like sometimes Justice League, sometimes not Justice League. Character we haven't seen in live action, not much. Like, who is your one that you need to see on this team? I have a theory. Well, I think I know who it is, but
I thought the Justice Gang were wonderful. I think like having a precursor to the League, this was the perfect way to do it and just subvert people's expectations. And I think that all of them just really, really crushed it. I am so blown away by how much Nathan Fillion nails Guy Gardner's energy. Like I could see the vision when he was cast, but like every subsequent clip of footage and then the movie itself, like I cannot picture another person who could understand this energy to such a degree. He looks like a living Kevin Maguire drawing in the best possible way. And I feel like with the League of it all, it's so interesting because it almost feels like the Justice Gang, especially having Max be involved, is really the precursor to the Justice League International era, and especially having Guy on there as well. But I feel like the League proper, everyone can be a part of it. Like we're going to have little subgroups within it. We could easily have the Terrifics when we have half of the team already in this movie. But I feel like it's literally like the sky's the limit. Any character could appear. But like, you know, the characters I would want to see in there, and it's Green Arrow and Black Canary.
that's what I thought you were going to be going with as well. My dream is kind of like you said, have everyone be a part of it and have these factions, have the Terrifics. I need to have a Titans faction, which of course they've talked about already, a movie being written for. That is what I care about the most in this whole new universe, is give me the Titans. And so as long as that is a faction that we get to see, that's what I'm hoping for the most. Chris, who stood out the most to you in the Justice Gang, and who would be your dark horse you want to see featured in the League?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite of the gang. It's just they all get a moment, even if it is a small one, where they all get to have their hero moment, or just getting to know them. Like when guys like make a move, Big Blue, that is such a Guy moment, and it's so like he eats that line, and just like Kendra at the end getting her moment with the president, terrific. Like Eddie, just I don't know. I'm so glad people are aware of Mr. Terrific now because of Eddie, and just like it's so wild to me. I thought this was like, oh, this is gonna be an obscure character, forgotten footnote in live action, but no, like we're at a point where he can lead a Terrifics movie, show, what have you. Who would want to see in the League? NFL Super Pro? No, I mean it's Green Arrow. I of course I can say everyone, but number one is just Green Arrow.
I recently have just watched for the first time actually the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon, and so getting to see lots of Guy Gardner in there, and I agree Nathan Fillion was absolutely perfect. Again, this is one of my nitpicks, but it's one of those things where it's kind of going back to my previous complaint about the planet. It's I ate my dessert too fast and I want more of it. Like, it's not like it's a bad thing. It's like, ooh, this was good. Why didn't I get as much as I wanted of it? Don't tease me with Isabella Merced and just not give me more. You know, I felt like Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner just got like a little bit more. And after being fresh off The Last of Us, I just love her so much. I think she's such an incredible actor. And so I wanted a little more Hot Girl. I thought she was just lacking a little bit, and I wanted to see her have a bit more of an arc, be a bit more present, but I think she's going to be a lot more present in the future. So it's not a complaint as much as it is like, I got to go see this movie again because I needed more of it. AF, how about you? What were your standouts among the Justice Gang?
Yeah, Isabella Merced, great. Nathan Fillion, great. Batman, Eddie Gathegi, that dude just commanded every single scene he was in. I enjoyed Mr. Terrific. Out of the Justice Gang, he was my favorite. The dude was so cool. The scene with him and Lois and that action scene in the bubble with his T-spheres, amazing. 10 out of 10, no notes. Give me more of that. Give me a Terrific spin-off. Like, if that Mr. Terrific spin-off is happening, I cannot wait. I think I'll make that my entire existence. But yeah, he was my favorite Justice Gang member. But if we're looking for other people, this guy over here, 100%.
He's pointing out.
Say it out loud for audio viewers, listeners.
The Flash.
And which I know the answer, but which of the Flashes would you want to be most featured going forward?
So that's the thing that I've been trying to figure out, right? Because Kyle Chandler plays Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and normally Barry and Hal are best buddies. So my thinking is that Barry Allen might be a bit old in this universe, meaning that Wally might actually be the main Flash. So that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm trying to convince myself about. So let's see how that plays out.
That's what I'm hoping for as well. Absolutely love me some Wally West. Damon, talk to me about how great Mr. Terrific was, because I know that was a standout for you.
Oh my god, easily. He had the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. Him, as AF mentioned, coming out of the ship, throwing up the bubble. You have a little bit of like that James Gunn trope that is awesome action sequence mixed with a great soundtrack, which I actually kind of wish there was more of in here, because the second that happened, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in a James Gunn movie. This is great. I'm smiling.
This is Yondu with his whistle. This is Craiglin with like this is. I've seen this scene before, and I'm happy I've seen it again.
Single time, I will eat it up. Fantastic. So he, to me, had like the best scene in the movie. The one where I was just like, yeah, we're cooking. I demand some sort of either a television show, whether it's animated or live action, because they're very fluent in terms of saying we will do whatever works best. So if they're okay with doing an animated show, they will do it, and he will voice Mr. Terrific, and that is fantastic. Terrific, if you will. I think he just had the best standout performance. Guy Gardner, also great. Like, Nathan Fillion nailed it as Guy. I think my only gripe is I kind of wish Nathan Fillion was a little younger, which is just unfortunate, because seeing an older guy is like, oh, this is weird. I see you just like with like ice all the time, and you're like old. Ugh. So that's like maybe just like my only gripe, but acting wise, his persona nailed it. I wanted to punch him in the face, and he succeeded. So that's great. Now, in terms of a member in the Justice Gang that we haven't gotten yet, I mean, TJ and I have very similar tastes in DC heroes. My favorite DC hero is Nightwing. His favorite DC hero is Nightwing. I'm not going to repeat what you said, so I'm going to throw out a curveball and say Zatanna.
That's my other one. That was literally the next one.
Because we're the same person when it comes to DC.
You'll get it in Justice League Dark, guys. You're not gonna get it earlier than that.
I'm right there with you, Damon. Give me Zatanna. The other one that was in my mind, which I don't know the details, but I have been told that there's all kinds of rights issues that they have to figure out. But I would love to see Static in the DCU. That would be number one for me. Of like, yes, Batman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited were very formative shows for me. But if I'm being honest, the two that like really I fell in love with the most, it was Static Shock and Batman Beyond, were really the two that got me started to be hooked into DC content. I would love to see a Mr. Terrific television show as well, but we're almost an hour in and we have not talked about the main antagonist of this movie, and that is Lex Luthor. I think we can kind of mix in, the engineer, the Ultraman of it all here within our Lex Luthor conversation. But there's like really the only thing that I want to talk about is less about the performance. I thought the performance of this was great, but I thought it was an interesting choice to kind of make Lex Luthor a little like Eevee, almost like rat-like, of just like, I grew up watching Justice League Unlimited all the time, where it's the Lex Luthor is very imposing, right? And obviously the Jesse Eisenberg one was not this at all either, but the Justice League Unlimited Lex Luthor, very imposing. The Young Justice Lex Luthor, very imposing. This one just felt very much like real life bad guy. The real life bad guys in today's day and age, they're not charismatic. They're little slimy shit. And when they get on camera, you're sitting there watching like, why would people follow this guy? Like, how does this guy get where he is? Like, and that's kind of how I felt about Lex Luthor. Like, he was just kind of a whiny little jealous guy, and I thought Nicholas Hoult played that to perfection. And what did you think about his performance?
I think it was outstanding. For me, the gold standard for Lex on screen is Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville. Like he was able to have so much runway to be able to really slow burn Lex becoming truly a horrible person. But I think at the end of the day, Lex still always sees himself as the hero of his story. He always like thinks that what he is doing is right. And I've loved the way that Nicholas Hoult and James have talked about this movie, about like the way that Lex views Superman, of like almost like an artist viewing generative AI, of like, why is this thing coming in and stealing this opportunity and this fame that I have? And I think that he just really nails it in, like you said, like a very slimy, very expressive sort of way. Like he almost has like a Tom Cruise kind of energy to some of his like crash outs and some of his line deliveries, but like that feels like Lex to me. He makes a meal out of every single line of dialogue that he has. And I love that at the same time we have this like little group of villains around him. We have Engineer, we have Ultraman. Like they served their roles very well as just kind of like extensions of what Lex's evil plan is.
Chris, what do you think?
Same, ditto. He's the best Lex we've had since Rosenbaum. He has this energy that there's this self-awareness to this Lex with the whole envy speech. I thoroughly love that. I just getting all of those scenes between Lex and Superman were great, kind of just highlighting their dichotomy and their ideologies. And just, I love having him both be the businessman, the evil scientist, this master manipulator, and having him have this supporting cast of his own, finally, with Ultraman, Engineer, Eve, and all of his goons. We need that to kind of highlight more of their differences. You know, Superman has his own supporting cast. Lex in live action has kind of been an island and on his own. So it's nice to have him surrounded by other evil people that he's manipulated or, you know, used for his own purposes. And now his ass is in Belle Reve, and I can't wait to see what friends he makes.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's going to be in there for very long. Or alternatively, he is in there for plausible deniability while orchestrating a bunch of other terrible things all around the world is maybe more likely. AF, I know you're a big Michael Rosenbaum, Lex Luthor fan as well. Where did you think Holt's performance, how do you think it compares?
No, I think it was great. And his character just absolutely hates Superman. And I mean, that's what we want. That's what we want to see. And I think the movie started off with Superman being active for 3 years. So we have to understand that this Lex Luthor is quite young as well. So he's going to mature as the DCU grows. So maybe we'll get a more imposing Lex the longer we are on this journey with him. But yeah, I loved it, and I also loved the fact that they brought his henchman Otis into this movie as well. Like Otis is synonymous with Lex in the comics, in some of the TV adaptations as well. We saw him in Superman and Lois recently as well. So yeah, I love that they sort of building out this universe for Lex as well. But yeah, I loved it. I loved the performance, and can't wait to see more.
He was giving such a great little rich kid throwing a tantrum vibes the whole movie, of just like, if I can't play with it, no one can play with it. I'm going to break it in half. But the toy is planet Earth. Like, I just thought it was so well suited, and Nicholas Hoult did such a good job. I was so shocked when I saw at Calgary Expo this past year, when I saw Nicholas Hoult in person. I was so shocked, and obviously we've seen lots of him in the press tour, but how ridiculously charming of a human being he is in real life. Because I feel like in almost everything I see him in, he has a little bit of this. You know, even when he's Beast, it's almost still a little bit of like incel-y vibes, or even like The Menu. Like everything he's in, he's a little creepy. He's just a little bit creepy in everything he's in. And so just to see him be so wonderfully charming, I was just kind of shocked that like we only ever see him in that little creepy role and never in like leading man stuff ever, which is funny when you think that he is, when you realize he has auditioned for Superman, auditioned for Batman. I guess these are just the roles he's really good at acting at, and you know, charming is just more how he is in real life. But Damon, what do you think about his performance?
I think this is the one that I'm going to enjoy more on a second viewing. And it's, to me, very hard to compare him with Rosenbaum, just because that's like a multi-season show when you have extra factors where it's like, this is a guy who grew up with Clark and you got to see and genuinely like develop all of it. And here it's just kind of already here, and we don't know if there is that Smallville connection or not. So I'm kind of just like putting pieces in play of what I already know. So maybe it's something that I'll appreciate more on a second viewing. Just the whole villains for me in the movie, I don't want to say it felt flat. Like the engineer was fine. Ultraman, the reveal, pretty cool. I think there's a lot of theories going around. TJ, I know you originally were thinking like, oh, maybe it's going to be Connor behind the mask. In the end, it was just a different clone.
As I first saw trailers, I thought the Baravian hammer and like any of these big, like powerful beings behind full costumes that we could not see their face, I originally thought it would be Kara. And we would be first introduced to Kara as a villain being controlled by Lex, kind of like how she is just
with Superman.
In My Adventures with Superman, she's being controlled. That's just where my head was at. And then as we're watching this, and Ultraman unlocks the Fortress of Solitude and gets them in there, I'm thinking, this is Connor. This is going to be Connor. And I was admittedly realized after the fact that like, oh no, I think I heard that it was going to be leaning into some Bizarro stuff in this movie, so I'm going to be wrong on that one. But it did make me want Connor, and it gave me the moment at the end when he's explaining Ultraman to Superman, and he's basically like, and I use your DNA, and of course, like you, he's an idiot, and it's like saying all of this stuff. It made me think like, oh, when he tries this again, he's going to go, if I need some brains, who's smarter than me? Nobody. Let me put my own brains in here. We got Connor Kent coming, and that might be the plot of the Titans movie.
Maybe. So yeah, we may be getting Bizarro. Maybe. We did see him go into a black hole with some pixely, cubey looking weird negative energy stuff. I don't know. It's sci-fi magic. Yeah,
the
stuff is happening.
And the nanotech within this movie, I was so odd and looked so weird to me. But I just kind of went, okay, I enjoy that this is a very comic booky movie. Lean in, TJ. Lean in.
I said I don't really know if there's a spot in here for me to like kind of go in on this, but I said there was a few things I didn't like, and let me at least just say this: the Metamorpho stuff of it all did not land for me. I like Metamorpho as a character. I thought him with his son was great. The thing, and maybe on a second watch, this is actually explained to me. Can someone explain me why he couldn't hold his baby?
He couldn't hold the baby while he was
metamorphosizing. Yeah.
Then how come he was able to be Squid Man and stop them from going into the black hole?
Because he never held on to Joey. He just held on to Superman, and Superman was holding on to Joey. So that's the best justification that I can give.
That was like the one thing in the movie where I'm like, that didn't make any sense.
I would say, like, on second watch, none of that really matters. Like, the sequence is just so cool, and like just seeing him have all of the different forms and everything, like I think it all works within context.
I'm just not a fan of the baby is the weird little plot device we're gonna pass it around like a hot potato. Felt very Flash to me.
The baby Joey coming for you.
Yeah.
It felt very Flash to me in a way. So I was like, all right, whatever.
The part of that I liked was just like, it felt very Superman to have him just like getting absolutely pelted by all of this, dark matter multiversal shit as he's just holding the baby out of the pool. Like you just fell into the pool and I gotta hold the baby out. That's kind of what that felt like, and I enjoyed that aspect of it.
And then the other part we'll go into in the next segment, because I'll let you tease into that, because it comes in the biggest change, I'd say, that the movie did with Clark's history.
Oh. And let's dive into that right now, where we get such a big part of the beginning of this movie. And this is so interesting, Damon, because we were actually just having a conversation where I was just, hour ago complaining off air about how a Twitter group chat conversation was getting me riled up. Well, this was another example of it where I'm sitting there in the middle of two parties having a conversation who were saying, one was saying that Superman is Superman and good and who he is exclusively because of Ma and Pa Kent and how they raised him. The other party was saying, no matter what, Superman is Superman. Look at Red Sun. He was a good guy no matter what. He's always a good guy no matter what. And I'm kind of saying, guys, maybe it's somewhere, a little bit in the middle. He's Clark because of Ma and Pa Kent. Would he maybe usually be a good guy without them? Is there goodness within him naturally? Yes. But is it somewhere in the middle? Yeah, probably. And we kind of get a little bit of nature versus nurture debates within this because Jor-El and oh my gosh, why can't I remember Superman's mom? Lara, thank you. Not as virtuous, I think, as we see them usually depicted. Damon, if that, I assume that's what you're going with, so lead us off on that one.
Well, we hear the beginning half of the message, which is the message that the movie starts out with, you're everything, you're the sun, protect. And that's that's Superman stuff. And then the big reveal in the end is it's and you will go and you will be king of this land. And it's oh, we're going that route. And I don't know. There was just something about that where I was oh, the last Superman movie kind of did this. I was I was hoping we wouldn't go down that route specifically where it's the intentions of Superman, even in that way, because I found more interesting the intentions of Superman when he's going into another country and doing things under his self. And then you didn't bring in the Jor-El stuff. Also, weirdly enough, they said harem 6 times in this movie, and I was not expecting that at all. They said it a lot. And I'm is this a kid's movie?
Supergirl calls him a bitch at the end, too.
What?
They got to learn the word somewhere.
Yeah. Hey, we got our first F-bomb in the MCU from a James Gunn movie.
True.
So
That's
there
true.
you go.
Could you imagine we got in a Superman movie?
Apparently we almost did. Apparently during the interview scene, he accidentally slipped an F-bomb in, and I want to see that on the deleted scenes. I need to hear that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
Just to jump in on the Jor-El and Lara of it all, I think that it works in context, and it definitely is jarring upon first viewing because I think they hid that aspect of the movie really, really well. But one thing I think that it's also important to remember is this movie was almost called Superman Legacy. As much as the conflict with the war and everything else that's going on is a huge component of it, this movie was built around the nature versus nurture aspect and him dealing with the sides of his heritage. And I think it is interesting and a bold choice to take the idea of Jor-El, and people have the Marlon Brando very altruistic, very stoic 70s version in their heads and kind of subvert that a little bit. I've always personally viewed Jor-El as kind of a flawed person. He has good intentions, but he's only one of the puzzle pieces that makes Clark who he is. And so I think that this movie understood that, and this movie did it really well. And doing it in a shocking way is a very James Gunn way to go about it, but I think that it ultimately works in really well in context.
I feel like I had heard somewhere from misinformation that Bradley Cooper would be voicing one of the robots in this movie, just like Palm Clementov was. But no, he was Jor-El himself, and he popped up, and I was like, "Oh damn, I didn't know that was happening." Chris, what do you think about the big twist?
I don't mind it. We've had enough time with Jor-El in other interpretations, other movies, shows, what have you. So it's just we're getting something different here. And for me, this change is worth it to get to the conversation Clark has with Pa Kent on the bench at the farm, because it's so poignant and beautiful and motivates Clark and reminds him, it's you're you because of what you choose to do, not what some message says, which Gunn has this habit in his movies of sprinkling setup for later. You don't realize it in the moment. So with Clark saying, my ship was damaged in transit, I'm thinking it's like this is a surprise tool for later. Check back with me in 5-6 years. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna put some money on that. But I don't mind the change. It's fine.
Going back to what you said, Damon, about like they already did this before in the last Superman movie. You know, if James Gunn has an idea, it doesn't really matter if it's been done. He'll say, "Hey, you want me to do a movie? Let me do a better version of the movie you just made 3 years ago, and I'm just gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna do it better." And I feel like that's kind of what he did here too. You know, same story beat, but we're gonna do it better. What'd you think of the twist, AF?
Yeah, no, like just I didn't mind that all. I think it just added an extra layer for the movie, and yeah, I think they went about things quite well. I think the way Superman and Clark is in this movie is looking for like the good of it. He's looking like, okay, the ship was damaged. The message can't be true, and I like the fact that the Justice Gang was there the moment after that reveal happened, because we got some sort of interaction between the four of them as well, and it showed that sort of friendship, and all of them believe him immediately. It's not like they were doubting him. Like even Guy Gardner, he was like, yeah, is he going to like destroy the world? Probably not, but we can't take that chance. So there's a little bit of doubt in him, but it just shows that Superman's a good guy. He knows he's a good guy. Everybody else who's close to him knows he's a good guy. So yeah, I just like that they added this extra layer, and how the audience or the citizens, sorry, went from perceiving him as one way and then changing their minds and then coming back full circle to embracing him as the hero once again.
Can I just I just want to bounce off of the podcast conversation because Superman for All Seasons is like my all-time favorite Superman book, and that conversation is so for all scenes like coded that if it meant that we needed to have like that change with Jor-El's speech to get to that moment, you know what, I'm okay with it because I just loved that scene so much.
When he said, "I'm so proud of you," I was like, dude, I felt that. I felt that so much.
I don't know how he was able to get his eyes to do like what he was able to do. It just added like the heaviness to the moment. I was just like, it's perfect.
It was really, really well done. I couldn't agree more. That, as Mark says in chat, James Gunn makes me ugly cry in just about every movie he makes, and that was where it got it for me as well. That, and when he's back at the Fortress of Solitude again and he's watching his memories with Mom and Pa Kent instead of the Jor-El and Lara speech, I was like, just flowing, absolutely flowing. It was such a great end to the movie. We've already gone for over an hour, and it's Friday night. And it's super late for AF. I'm sure you want to get to bed, so I don't want to hold everybody too long. And so I'll throw it to like a general group of Easter eggs that you picked out while you were watching that you really enjoy, theories you have going forward.
So many Easter eggs.
Chris and I are ready to go. Chris and I are ready to go because we have one in particular. So pay attention when Lois is talking to the Justice Gang, because the mural on the ceiling is a feast of an Easter egg. James teased it in the week leading up. It has the history of metahumans. And so if you look there, you can see like Jay Garrick, and you can see Vibe and Atomic Knight and all of these. Oh, yeah, Wildcat. Like, there are characters that I never would have imagined being thrown into a Superman movie in the background in that kind of way. It is so lovingly put together. And James said he would tweet an official photo of it later. I cannot wait for the day that comes out, because there's already so much to unpack just in the partial shots we see in the movie.
They said, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the opening credits, it said 3,000 years ago was the first metahuman on Earth.
300.
300. 3 centuries.
Yeah. 300.
300 years ago or 300 centuries ago?
No. 3 centuries, so 300 years.
Okay.
300.
So does that mean
it's
no Vandal Savage?
300 centuries ago, metahumans arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been talking
So,
about this since seeing it.
the way
I view
I
it as like there
interpret
might have
it
been
is that
metahumans. Yeah.
That was
it's
adorable.
just, to me, it's just like humans came up with the term metahuman as a collective. Like, that's not to say there weren't superpowered beings before. Like, to me, it's like Etrigan and Merlin, they all existed, and Vandal Savage back then, but we just didn't have a way to classify them. It's like, oh, this is some kind of myth, like Greek myth, or this lore or legend. It wasn't until 300 years ago in this universe that we classify them as metahumans.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Chris, we'll throw it to you next for
You
any other Easter eggs pointed out and
can go now,
theories
honey.
you may have about how this movie ended.
I'm so excited for a year from now with Kara, Woman of Tomorrow. It's going to be great. I heard like what 20 seconds of screen time. Millie kills it. If you've read Woman of Tomorrow, you know exactly what's coming. She exudes that energy so well, and I just cannot wait to see like Bilquis Evely's art come to life on an IMAX screen. We're all in for a treat. I just know it.
Damon, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is one of your favorite DC books in general.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When you give Tom King a miniseries, he kills it. And that book is incredible. I do think for the ending of that movie, for general audiences, they're going to have to change a little bit of the ending of that book because it gets bananas. But I think you can easily take out a certain aspect that would make it bananas and make it so general audiences can eat it nicely. But that book is phenomenal. I've been kind of teasing it, like for Marvel fans in particular, this kind of can be the Gore the God Butcher movie that we should have got if done correctly in terms of the villain and the theming and the heartbreak. I love that book. I love that book so much. I am going to be ready with tissues for the audience. If we go full on 1-for-1, I'm going to have multiple boxes with me. People are not going to be ready because something happens in that movie that is the catalyst for everything. But Millie seems like the perfect casting for Kara within like literally the 20 seconds. The change is like she's more of a party girl. In this, it seems like when she goes to Red Sun Planets for her birthday, it was like a little more mellow and sad. In this case, she's just like, "Yeah, I'm a party girl," and I'm like, you know what? That's fine. That's a fine change.
Drowning the sorrows with alcohol.
Yeah, I was like, that's fine. Man, when that movie was announced, that was the number
Honestly,
one.
if
most
my
anticipated.
planet blew up, I would drink all the time too.
Exactly. This is the number one most anticipated movie for me when that slate was announced because I love that book so much. So, fingers crossed that they do it well. And Lobo's fun.
AF, any big Easter eggs that you want to point out that we haven't talked about yet, or theories you might have on Superman's future in the DCU?
No, Easter eggs, I've got a ton, but I'll mention a couple. So we know that James Gunn loves the TV stuff, like he's always spoken about Smallville. So he had Michael Rosenbaum on set. He was voicing one of the Raptors. And then Jedda's, the coffee shop from the Arrowverse. We saw that sign. We heard the news reporter speak about Jedda's as well. We got Zesty Cola, Damon, Nightwing's favorite drink. We got that in the DCU. We got Chocos. We got Chocos, Martian Manhunter's favorite snack. So yeah, like I love all of these small little details that they buried in the movie somehow. Also, just like Damon said, I'm super excited for Woman of Tomorrow. I think, like, I'm just going to echo that tissues thing, because if you haven't read that book yet, you are not ready for what's about to happen.
There's a part of me that's like, I'm telling people, I'm like, I don't know if I want you to read the book or not before you see this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I want you. Like, I want you to because it's amazing, but at the same time,
it's coming up. If this movie was 5 years away, read the book, you know?
Yeah.
But if it's like when the movie's just coming out, it's like, ooh, maybe just watch the movie and then read the book, so you can have the theater experience of whatever the big reveals are happening. I think that's kind of how where I'm standing is I'm gonna buy the book, gonna look at the book, let the book tempt me, but it's gonna sit there on the shelf until after I see the movie, and then I'm gonna read the book. I think that's probably how I'm gonna go about things. Jenna, if there are any other theories or Easter eggs you want to point out, dive them in now, and then let the people know where they can find you, where they can find your YouTube channel, where they can find Phase Hero, all of the great things. The floor is yours.
If I shared my theories, we'd be here for another hour. So I'll just start the plugs. As you mentioned, you can listen to me every week on Phase Hero, which is a podcast I co-host with 3 of my best friends, where we just talk about Marvel, DC. We literally have had a whole week of Superman related stuff. So definitely give all of that a listen. We just recorded our spoiler episode like 3 hours ago. So it's been a big day of talking about this movie. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel called Go Read Some Comics, and I will be posting my spoiler-filled breakdown of this movie very soon, talking about a lot of what we talked about here, but even more expanded on. So definitely check that out. And you can follow me on social media at Hey It's Jenna Lynn.
Thank you so much for joining us again. This was an absolute blast to have you back on. I have talked about it on the show lots, but I can't emphasize enough how big of a influence Phase Hero is, the old one was, and Phase Hero is on me. And was on just creation of Agents of Fandom. It's the pandemic started, and I just needed an outlet to find a group, and I found the Phase Hero Twitch streams and found this wonderful community. And one day in the Twitch stream, I said, "Hey, friends, anybody want to do a Twitter chat?" And so I put a Twitter chat together with about 10 people from that Twitch stream. 2 of them are right here on the stream with us, and that group have become some of my very closest friends in the entire world. So much of that is owed to you guys and the podcast. So grateful anytime we get to link up and have you on the show. Chris, where can the people find you? And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast. You can find me. What is my handle? Oh yeah, it's at the Chris V _. I have fun, shitty memes and hot takes, and just when I tweet NFL Super Pro memes way too often. So if you're into that kind of thing, follow me, or makes.
Damon and AF, do we know what we're talking about next week on the Comic Corner yet, or not yet?
AF, you go first.
Dude, it is almost 1 a.m. I don't think my brain is
okay.
operating
I
that
got it
much.
up. Absolute Batman's out next week. Absolute Flash is out next week. Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, Nightwing, guys. The book's still going on, even though Tom Taylor's not writing it. It's by Dan Waters, and it's still great. Been digging that. And also shout out Jonathan Hickman's Imperial, because that first issue is like, hey, did you want Marvel Game of Thrones in space? Because that's what that is. And it rocks. First issue, at least.
There you go. So stay tuned. Comic Corner drops every Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future content. In addition to our breakdowns upcoming for the Fantastic Four, we have some interviews for Fantastic Four coming. Some interviews for my adventures with, Iron Man and his amazing friends, the new animated children's show coming. We got interviews for that, as well as a new Alien series coming from, I think, FX, Disney Plus internationally, Hulu in the States. Lots of fun interviews coming, so stay tuned. Follow the Agents Fandom on socials, at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, and of course, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Those who joined us live, those who are joining us after the fact, we appreciate you. We love you. On behalf of myself, Damon, AF, Jenna, and Chris, we will see you next time. Peace.